wearing perms?
You are correct. And now you do.
All right, let me know when you want me to start.
Yeah, go for it. I'm logged in, ready to do it. Let me go ahead and full screen you. So if you got anything private on there, get it out of the way.
I do not.
And if you could lower the resolution FPS of that stream, because it went all the way to the top. All right, cool. Thank you.
That's interesting that you noticed. You can tell when I changed it.
Yeah, it says it on the screen there. When I hover.
All right, so my presentation is about Medea. Some people know her as Medusa. We have basically been taught everything backwards about cosmology. A lot of people in here understand that, but for some reason, a lot of people appeal to mainstream history, Christianity, and their version of history, which even in the Bible, doesn't even portray the guy that they say is the good guy as a good person. So they don't really hide this stuff that much, and I'll show you guys how much they're flaunting um, the defeat of whatever the opposition to their empire was. Most likely, I believe during the Crusades was the first actual war where there was an actual takeover. You know, before all these resets and wars that we have now, they're just a continuing like process of, you know, preparing the world for their, you know, complete control. So yeah, I'll start with the boring stuff. I'm sure a lot of you guys know about all the eagles in all these flags. We got, I have no idea what this is actually, Republica Filipinas. That might be Philippines. I have no idea. Got the same eagle as in America. Here, I also don't know what this is. Benica Tungal. That might be a country. Who knows? Countries with eagle flags. We got Mexico, Albania, Zambia, Egypt, Kazakhstan, Moldova, Serbia, Montenegro. These are all countries that literally have the eagle in the flag. So most flags don't even have like animals on them, but like for the most part, you know, they put the eagle in the these crests and stuff, but they even put it all over the flags, east and west, not just the west and the, you know, the European countries. Also in the east, you got all these crests. The Holy Roman Empire obviously is like one of the original probably where this comes from is the Roman Empire. You know, they claim the Crusades were the Romans versus the Arabs, and the Arabs were most likely all around the world, not just, well, obviously not at all where they claim the Arabs were. They, you know, the Middle East is just a kind of like a desert where they've been taken to. But I'm so there's a lot of, I actually didn't put anything with the, I should have looked up some stuff. But basically in Russia there's a lot of museums, which a lot of people know is used to be called Tartaria. There's a lot of museums with Arabic all over the different, you know, shields and armor that the Russians wore during these crusades and stuff. But yeah, so there's a lot of crests. I'm actually not sure when Iraq got this eagle. It'd be interesting to see if they got the eagle after, the Iraq war, where we took over that culture a little bit more. This is the Rothschild crest, the double eagle, which is also like the Russian ones. Um, so Rothschild literally means red shield. A lot of you guys probably know that. When I say I'm gonna red pill somebody, I wish I could say blue pill because that's the actual correct um, thing. Way to say that because the blue is actually the higher chakras and the higher spectrum of light. Um, but they changed everything. They inverted everything. So um, someone hot mic. Someone beat me to it. All right. So yeah, that's the boring stuff. We got the eagle. Oh my God! Look at that. I didn't even notice that. I just saw this. Okay, so in this, do you guys see? Is this good enough quality that you can see this horse? This dude on this horse is literally spearing what looks like a little dragon. It looks like a little alligator with wings. Do you guys see that?
Yeah, we can
That's
see that.
that's crazy, dude. I'm so glad I caught that. That's in the Rothschild crest. So they're flaunting the eagles, right? And I don't know, Fundy, maybe you know what these two, this ball and this thing he's holding is?
The orb and the rod, it's like a some sort of symbolic thing that represents having like power. You'll see a lot of like royalty in their painted portraits of them, also holding the rod and the orb of power.
Yeah. I'm just amazed that so this is the main thing, right? The Roman Empire, the eagle, the the Zeus, the sky god, the eagle figure, and all these like religions around the world, they're all the same religion. The Sumerian version with Enlil versus Enki. Enki is Poseidon, the sorry. Um yeah, so that's the Greek version. So Enlil and Enki is basically the same as the Zeus and Poseidon story, where Enlil is literally depicted as an eagle in like the Sumerian sculptures, and Enki is the brother in the garden. It's the same garden. They have the Garden of Eden story allegedly, right? So like the tablets that they show are cuneiform, so they could be tablets that say whatever, but the story that they tell us is the same biblical story. And they also, the Greek story with Zeus and Poseidon is the earthly, the god that's on earth, and Zeus is the one in the sky. This is the war between two very very advanced. Uh, it's told to us as their brothers. They might be the same. They might be all humans. They might be two sides of an Anunnaki race fighting while we are kind of living amongst them. Not really sure about that, but we do know that there's some huge battle between the Eagle Empire, whatever the one that controls us now, and shows us that they put their eagle everywhere now, and they even put in things like this, where I'm going to show you guys a lot of these. They put this fucking dude spearing the alligator, the dragon, the snake, the reptilian. Um, and now they tell us that reptilians are like these evil monsters, which is obviously just fear mongering about this kind of snake stuff. In the Bible they talk about the serpent, being this bad guy, and I don't even know if he's actually depicted to be a real serpent, but it's it's just like they're just demeaning the old world and the ancient culture that used to be using basically. So I'm going to show how they they were just using snake venom and other medicines and stuff to have psychedelic experiences and be healthy and blah blah blah. And they basically took over that culture. I mean, that they basically took over the world and basically shunned everyone from that kind of knowledge and kind of changed the uh, the meaning of all these things, that all these words that we use now, like pharmakia and medicine. They're all, everything's inverted. So here we got some caduceuses. Um, this this looks pretty old. It's hard to tell and from pictures if this is like original old world. It looks like it is because it's got that geopolymer look. Everything is very well put together. It's got, a lot of dark marks, which looks like it's been through those wars and those fires and stuff. Um, they're showing the caduceus there, which is snakes crawling up that, which they still use that all over the place. Modern pharma uses the literal caduceus in many places. A lot of the ambulances, they just use like a kind of like a reduced version of the caduceus with just one snake, and then you still have this star, which is, I believe, something close to like the Jewish star or something like that. Here's another caduceus. There's a couple more. This is in the Vatican, right? So this is one of their new buildings, and the entire auditorium is just a freaking snake head. So that's pretty crazy. Um, that's just dying. Yeah, I'm gonna. So this is a crazy ass statue. I'll leave this up for a second while I grab a cable. But yeah, so when I found this, I was like, I was so happy, dude. Look at that shit we got. Like this Roman, cardinal type dude. And he's literally sitting with his with this like Tartarian griffin looking dragon thing, just like, just like really messed up. Just like that guy, that dragon is like disheveled, and they're just like showing here that destruction of that empire and how this thing is just basically, cowering under him, just fearing for his life while they just rule over the world. They're just showing their power over that ancient civilization, that they, used to use these symbols like the griffin and the dragon and the winged serpent and all these other symbols, which have been, like, did I go through did I show the Mexican one? So oh, is that, did I go past that? How did I get past that? So look at the Mexican one. The Mexican flag is literally an eagle just eating a snake. Like, it's literally like they're literally showing it like in the flag. They have an eagle eating a snake. That is so crazy to me that they just show that there. Like, they're just telling you like that empire took over this one and just completely destroyed it, and they're just flaunting it. It's so nuts. Um, we got some coins here just to show, people that obviously globers don't believe that, all the countries are the same empire. But we got the United States quarter here with the eagle and this dude's face, this, Caesar looking guy. We got literally Caesar, and then we got an eagle on the other side of that coin, same coin. The Greek one is the exact same one. So that eagle, that Greco-Roman like eagle empire, literally just is just showing us that they took over the world, and they're not even hiding it. This stuff is everywhere. I actually I found this today. This is kind of interesting. The the dollar sign looks like the caduceus too. Like, that's actually crazy. This is a pretty cool statue. So for the most part, I would say that this is most likely the base of what was an obelisk on top, and they got rid of that. So I wouldn't I wouldn't really usually claim that like this could still be like an ancient statue, but it's definitely not what this the base of this was for. They don't make this giant base for just a statue. That's what they did after the resets. They got rid of all the obelisks and they put statues there. But here they put a dragon thing, which is kind of cool. They usually, I guess they might be, I guess they're kind of showing it in like a negative light, right? That dragon looks a little bit like vicious, so it still is kind of like demeaning that empire, but it's interesting. But this obviously is like, at least for me, like when you see like like stuff like the Washington Monument and obelisk on top of these, you can tell that this giant sturdy base is for like an obelisk and not a little statue. Like there's no reason to make such a sturdy stone base for just a little statue. Um, we got, oh yeah, this is the picture of the uh, thumbnail on this presentation. We got some dude with eagle wing hair hat, and he just literally cutting the head off Medusa. Who knows? That might have actually happened. Lady Babylon might have actually gotten her head cut off, and they might have flaunted her around like Medusa, like the myths of Medusa. It might just be that she got killed, or maybe she sold. Maybe she sold everybody out. Maybe she was kind of. Maybe they turned her as they took over that empire, because they do give her credit for so much stuff. We have her name everywhere. So people that don't know, Lady Babylon, her name is Medea, and Medea is a word that you literally have everywhere. You got medicine, media, Medusa, meditation. The whole medieval time period was most likely just uh, symbolizing like that time where Babylon was still like a thing. Like there were still these empires that were kind of not doing what the Romans wanted the world to be doing. This is a really cool one. We got these like Greco-Roman like lady, looks like kind of like the Statue of Liberty face. Um, and then there's a dragon. Literally, she's just standing over a dragon, like they're just literally standing on it. Like there's so many statues like this. It's crazy. I just found this that I had it saved today. This is Lady Babylon. So she is depicted here as riding a dragon that has like 7 heads or something. You got, that Pokemon Ninetales is kind of the same thing. There's a lot of depictions of that. Dragons with many heads. There's no way of knowing if that was a real thing, or if that symbolized something. Like, I could come up with like a bunch of random stuff, but I have a hard time actually believing that there was a dragon with that many heads. So I don't I don't know where I would go with that. I'm trying to figure out what this actually means. But that's how she's depicted, and they they clearly don't like, well, so in the Bible they talk down about her, right? They call her the whore of Babylon. They talk about how they were just, Babylon was destroyed. But then they put her name everywhere. Meditation, medicine, social media. All our media is literally just named after her, and she was a sorceress. So I don't know how that all went down exactly. My theory is that either she wasn't like, maybe she was like Donald Trump, right? Donald Trump pretends to be like helping America, and he's really a part of like the elite, right? Maybe she was one of those like first maybe she was one of those first controlled opposition like politicians who like steered, like Germany with Hitler, right? So like the Germans just wanted their sovereignty, and Hitler was a controlled op guy that led them to maybe this was the first version of that, like an ancient version of someone that wasn't was just psyoping, was just control opping like that country, that empire into destruction. And they give her all the credit and all this and all these words. Um, so they're definitely, so in the Bible they're making they're putting her down, but her name is everywhere. Like even like I just figured this out today, that the Medici family like literally starts with Medi and Medea, and the amount of control they had is crazy. You got like they produced four popes. They founded the Medici Bank, which is one of the most powerful banks in Europe. Um, they married into European royalty. Someone's playing a game. Yeah, so I'm gonna go into some stuff in the Bible now. So here we have like just a verse about the Tower of Babel. Um, Tower of Babel. It says that its circumference is 3 days walk. That is freaking crazy. So if I take a lot of these things in the Bible literally, and Christians don't take many things in the Bible literally as I do, honestly. Um, there's a couple quotes I got here, just depicting some of the things that I think are literal in the Bible that Christians would say are just symbolical or allegorical or whatever kind of poetic. Just this is just a technique of writing, and it's not literal at all. So in Deuteronomy, we got a quote that says, "Their wine is the venom of serpents, the deadly poison of cobras." So they would claim some metaphorical explanation for this, but there's so many parts of the Bible talking about drinking venom, like literally drinking snake venom. Like if you just read this and just took it literally, their wine is the venom of serpents, the deadly poison of cobras. It literally doubles down, and it's literally like, what kind of metaphor is so specific? Like, deadly poison of cobras, their wine is venom of serpents. Like they're literally just saying that their wine is literally just serpent venom. Like how else? Like it's crazy. And Peace Psalm, we got, they sharpen their tongues like snakes. The venom of vipers is on their lips. So is this a This is just a metaphor they love to throw out there. Just, oh, we're just always gonna fucking say metaphors about people
Do
having
you
snake venom
think
in there.
do you think that's translated to like kind of what you were saying you were doing, like they use snake venom to dump DMT and get high? Like that's their wine, that's how they get intoxicated?
Yeah, so I'm gonna get into that. I believe that the Christ is the master of drinking the snake venom, of orchestrating the whole experience. He is the ancient shaman. He is the ancient shaman, and in this culture, we had a culture which was using snake venom to trip DMT, um which basically is the craziest way I've ever heard of doing DMT. So I've experienced DMT in the past, and most people know that the the craziest way that you can experience DMT is when you're dying, because there's basically no other time in your life where more DMT is going to release. So your body releases like 4 grams of DMT when you're dying. If you have that much stocked up, if you're unhealthy, you're not going to have 4 grams of DMT when you die. But
Hey, yo, hold up, man. Hold
for a
up for
healthy
1 second.
person,
I'm gonna
they
try
will have
and get this noise.
an extreme DMT experience when they're dying.
Hey,
And
brother, can you hear
what
me?
these ancient
Hey,
texts are
listen, I'm
talking
trying.
about.
We're not supposed to be interrupting the presentation, guys.
Yeah, why can I Hey, am I got a little bit laggy there when he entered. I'm just checking if I'm delayed. Am I delayed at all?
You're fine. The screen sharing stopped, but we can hear you fine.
Well, I was done with the things I wanted to show, and the stream was actually making me lag a little bit, so I just closed the stream. The stream. Um, but yeah, that's why. See, I told you, Riggs, he was gonna do something, but
Well, it was right there
I
at
am
the
a
end. If are you open to people having any questions at this point?
yeah. Can I read him a couple more quotes?
Sure. Go ahead, and then I guess we'll go to open questioning.
Yeah. So we're talking about so these guys, what I believe and what Amon Hillman has claimed, the Greek is basically saying way more specifically and so Amon Hillman is claiming that the translation of the Greek has been watered down to shit, and I also believe that based on what I see. When you look up these words like Christ, they claim it. They claim Christ means the anointed one and the Messiah. We got in Greek we have the word Messiah and Christ. We have no reason to use Christ for anointed and Messiah when we have the word Messiah in Greek that means Messiah. So this is kind of the ways that they've done this watering down of the Greek language. They've taken things like that, like two words. They've taken two words and turned them into one word, which doesn't even mean either of them anymore. Like Christ literally doesn't mean anointed or Messiah. It they combined both of those words into one, and then they took that combination and they just claims it just means Jesus. So it literally it's useless. They've changed the language, and then they've changed the interpretation of that language through the biblical lens, like the lenses people put on when they're reading the Bible, and they're not getting any of the actual information in the Bible. So here's some interesting verses of my connection just dropped down. Am I lagging? No, I think I'm good.
I can hear you.
Here's some verses about Lady Babylon. So we got a lot of verses about Lady Babylon in the Bible. This one in Revelation says the woman was clothed in purple and scarlet. Amon Hillman claims that this is because she's drinking a purple mix of snake venom. Blah, blah, blah. She held in her hand a golden cup full of abominations. It sounds like she's drinking something that they don't condone. And the filth of her sexual immorality. With whom, so Revelation 17:2, with whom the kings of the earth committed sexual immorality. The dwellers in the earth were made drunk with the wine of her immorality. So they're talking about, so in both these verses, we got her drinking in the beginning of that Revelation, that other verse, it's talking about her being covered in purple. This is where Amon Hillman gets claims that they're drinking this purple drink, basically this ancient purple drink. Revelations 18, all the nations have drunk the wine of the passion of her immorality. So in this verse, I would argue that what they're talking about is the fact that everyone used to basically drink this purple drink, which they're claiming is immoral, and they're
Riggs.
it into her as being the culprit for pushing this drug around the world. There's other first Christ that
Unfortunately, the past 20 seconds or so got roboted out there, Quap. Sorry.
Yeah, I was wondering if I was lagging a little bit. My connection looks a little bit low.
Would you be open to a question, Quap?
Yeah, I don't know if Quap's still
Yeah,
around.
you guys can you can talk for a little bit. I'm gonna turn my phone on so I can talk better.
All right, cool. All right, so I guess get your questions ready. We've got another 30 minutes if he wants it until Lanolin does his thing.
Yo, I switched to my phone. Am I better now?
Yeah.
Much better.
Just want to say thank you for accusing me of interrupting me. Yeah. I was trying to tell you, you need to mute your servers or whatever because it's constant ringing in the background, and it was really interrupting what you were trying to say. So thank you for taking me as I was interrupting you, as I was trying to tell you there was constant noise in the background. Thank you.
Can we mute him
Oh,
for the questions too?
No. No. He's done saying what he's going to say.
I doubt that. All right, so can I go through a couple? I got a lot more. I got a couple more verses that are highly snake venom related
Okay.
in the Bible.
All right.
Fallen is Babylon the Great, who made all the nations drink the wine of the passion of her immorality. So this is it's interesting how many times they make this same metaphor, about all these nations drinking her wine. Jeremiah, a golden cup in the hand of Lord, making all the earth drunk. The nations drank her wine, therefore the nations have gone mad. I want to drink a wine that makes you mad. That sounds better than the wine that they sell nowadays. Revelation, by thy sorceries were all nations deceived. The word sorceries in Greek this is a description. It's talking about where I look this explanation of that quote is saying that the word for sorceries that in the English now what came from pharmakia in the Greek. So it's interesting that they changed that to sorceries, but we obviously still use the word pharmaceuticals or pharmakia in English, so they could easily have made that for by thy pharmakia were all nations deceived, for by the pharma the pharma. um, so it's interesting they call that sorceries now instead of like actual drugs, which is how we use the word now. In Mark 16:18, this is one of my favorite quotes. Jesus hands snakes to his um, people depict this as him handing snakes, but it says they shall take up serpents, and if they drink any deadly thing, it shall not hurt them. They shall lay hands on the sick, and they shall recover. So I don't believe I don't believe Jesus is giving anyone serpents here. He's just, because it says, and if they drink any deadly thing, which is not what that verse says, it shall not hurt them. So it says he's giving something to drink to them. He's not, obviously he's not going to give you a serpent and you're not going to suck on its face to get the snake venom up. So this is extremely mistranslated. The Greek says, I won't read the whole passage in Greek, but it says thanasimos for deadly, and thanasimos is something that is in other Greek texts, like Galen's text, and it's basically just a death-inducing cocktail. So Jesus literally. So I'm pretty sure the modern Christians will claim that this also is just metaphorical. What's interesting is many churches now are there's many churches I've seen that actually play with snakes because they claim that they can play with snakes because they're saved by Jesus, because they have no understanding of what is actually being talked about in these verses. So everyone's got a different interpretation of what's going on here. And for the most part, Christians just say that all this snake stuff is just is just the same metaphor being used over and over again. And the metaphor is because the immoral, the sinful people were whatever. I don't even want to steel man them, but you guys have heard them enough to know they're not going to talk about Jesus actually giving his disciples snake venom to drink, even though that's what it literally says. A couple more. Oh, this is a different book. So this book that I found talks about Lady Babel, and it's from Alexander Hislop from 1853. It says that she holds a child in her arms, the Babylonian mystery child, which the people adore and worship. This child is said to have a name as peculiar to Christ, as distinctive of his glorious character as the name of Jesus. So I'm not sure what's actually going on here, but I looked up, things about. I was trying to find some mention of Lady Babel being anointed as a Christ, and I got a lot of other stuff. And in this verse, it's talking about basically that they're basically claiming her child was a Christ, and his character was as glorious as Jesus, which is interesting. There's a couple more things I have here. There's just a verse here in the Bible talking about in Peace Psalm, who is he? Someone else being anointed as a Christ. So there's many people in the Bible that are anointed as Christ, and what they usually translate this as is they usually call it. So they claim that Christos means Messiah also, even though there's a word. The word Messiah is another Greek word, and that exists in the Bible. So if they wanted to call it the person a Messiah, they would just say that word. But when in the Greek, when it says Christos for someone that isn't Jesus, they translate it as if it means Messiah in that part, because people other than Jesus can only be another Messiah. That's like a messenger, like that foretells of Jesus. That person can never be Christ because they claim Jesus is the only Christ. Yet in this passage that I found, it says, the nations assemble together in his holy place. The rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed. So the word there, anointed one, is literally Christon. So they're they don't want to translate it to English. They don't want to translate it into English as Christ, even though that's what the Greek word is. So they just claim it just means anointed there.
What is it? Sorry. What is it? What does it really mean?
So they claim and being anointed is just like this like ceremonial title, but a Christ is literally someone. It's like basically like a shaman, like a shaman that knows the mystery of using snake venom and other medicines to heal and to make people trip the fuck out, basically.
Okay, thank you.
And yeah, that's pretty much all I got. Got a couple more of the same thing, but you get the point. Christ. There's a lot of people that are that they're claiming are Christ in the Bible, and it's not just Jesus. And Jesus' story, the crucifixion, and the entire story is told in even in the Bible and basically in the same exact way. It seems like they were doing this to a lot of people. A lot of people were getting caught for being Laestace and Christ. They were going after these guys and like the witch hunts. But yeah, that's pretty much it. If anyone got any questions.
Yeah, I got more of a clarification question. I'd like to attempt to summarize all the main points and see if I got any of the main features wrong, if you're cool with that.
Yeah, sure.
So there was a lot that you covered. But to take it all the way back to the beginning with the eagle and the serpent stuff, what I got from what you were saying is that symbolically represented, the old world order is represented symbolically as a serpent, and the new world order that defeated the old world order is represented as an eagle or some sort of winged person or a winged hat person or whatever, and that they can't help but brag about their victory over the old world and their domination of it by making all of these artworks that show the eagle eating or defeating or stepping on the serpent, representing their victory, and that the reason the old world order is depicted as a serpent might have something to do with ancient practices involving shamanistic practices, utilizing snakes and snake venoms, that Jesus was a practitioner of old ways that were attempting to be suppressed, and maybe what got him all of the attacks he received was him teaching lessons of the old times that they were trying to squash out of history and out of practice.
Yeah, but so the main thing I have that doesn't make sense to me is why they're promoting Medea and Jesus so much, even though they're hiding everything the both of them were doing, right? But they're still pushing their names a lot. They're like in the Bible, Medea is basically put down as like a whore and just like a demonic entity, but they put her name everywhere, you know. So clearly, and you know, everyone worships Jesus for the most part. That's religious. So I don't know if maybe the person that was I don't really know why they glorify this one lay stasis story, because they might have just put someone else's name on, like let's say his name wasn't Jesus, right? Let's say Jesus was the like let's say Zeus was the ruler during that time period when the guy in the New Testament was crucified, and what more of like a mockery would it, like imagine if I was like put in jail for doing DMT, and then they kill me or whatever, and then they tell a story about me, and instead of saying like you know, Quap did all these things, they call me like someone that I hate, like Torah or something. Like, you know what I mean? Like Torah and like the modern Christians, they take over the world, and they just make everyone think that my name was Torah or something. That would be so disgraceful. Disgraceful to me. So I imagine that's basically what happened, is they like supplanted a lot of their names and things over these stories, and they're also showing this story as like a kind of like fear mongering people, not like like telling the story of like what, you know, what the ancients used to do, and they basically crucified them for doing, while you worship, you know, someone's face like Cesar Borgia, for even though obviously Jesus, you know, Cesar Borgia was not the lay stace that was crucified.
Anyone else got questions?
What's a lay stace?
So it depends who you ask, right? If you ask a Christian, he will give you the Hebrew translation for lay stace, which was changed to a thief. They call it so they claim it's a violent thief because there's already a Greek word for thief, which is I believe it's barbanos, or kleptes, are like two of the words for thief in Greek, and that's why I don't think there's another need for another word meaning thief. That's why they claim it means violent. It means violent thief, so they can claim that it is a different word, but it has a different implication. But based on what Jesus was doing in the Garden of Gethsemane with the before he got crucified, he was obviously not doing any violent thievery. He was caught with a naked boy in the Garden of Gethsemane, and he got crucified next to two other lay stays. And the Christians claim that this word means thief, but there's no thievery going on. The Romans didn't crucify thieves within this version of history, which I don't always fully grant, because there's a lot of these things that might not even be true to have happened in the Bible. But if the Christians appeal to just the mainstream history narrative for what was going on during these time periods, and during this time period in Rome, they were not crucifying thieves. They did crucify child traffickers, and that translation for the word laestes makes a lot more sense within the whole context of the Bible. Also within the context of Caesar's stories, but the Christians would say that he's not even being crucified for being a laestes, but they do have to explain that laestes doesn't mean child trafficker. But the thing is, he is, even though before he gets crucified, he doesn't get charged with being a laestes within the book. He still tells the angry mob when he's getting arrested to stop treating him like a laestes, and then he gets crucified next to two laestes. So basically, the only way that I think makes sense to that makes sense is the word means child trafficker, because that's something that Romans were doing, where they were crucifying child traffickers, and he was clearly, if we had to pick between the two, he was obviously doing something that seemed more like he was child trafficking than doing some violent, thievery in that garden before he got arrested.
Makes sense to me. If you're caught with a young boy, not to say anything about what was going on, but if you're caught with a young boy and you say, "Why are you treating me like a laestes?" I don't think that he's saying, "Why are you treating me like a thief?" If the word laestes nowadays, people argue, well, it has many definitions. It could mean thief, violent thief, or human trafficker. Well, I think I'm going to go with the human or child trafficker definition in that case, is what was being said.
All right. Well, if that closes out all the questions, thank you for presenting for us, Quap, and thanks for helping out Fundy. I'm going to go ahead and get right with the next presentation. You guys want to just open up the chat, and we'll be back shortly with another show.
So Jesus was the OG of DMT, but it was also a child trafficker.
Not necessarily a child trafficker. He was just being like crucified next to some. Just because you're arrested for something doesn't mean that that's really what you were doing. But he was definitely hanging out with a lot of. He was definitely hanging out with a lot of the youth doing drugs, having visionary states.
So,
And that's the role model that you embody yourself after, is somebody that you think is doing drugs and hanging out with young boys and potentially molesting
this
them.
is not. I know what you're trying to do, but this is obviously the Christians are the ones that worship Jesus. I'm just trying to figure out what the story says. And just because I do DMT doesn't mean I have anything. Is there any correlation between how Jesus or these Christs were doing it and obviously I don't think everyone during that time period was
doing what Jesus was doing. That's why they obviously all were angry. When during Jesus's crucifixion, everyone was happy he was being crucified. So most people probably just drank the snake venom and they took the antidote. But there was practices like that was being catered by these lay states to basically give like a kind of like a strange version of that, where most likely the fluids coming out of these boys was helping the antidote kick in better. I don't think it was purely like a only like a sexual like thing that they were doing. But it obviously wasn't something everyone was doing. That's why they were crucifying people that were doing that. So it has nothing to do with DMT. It's just a strange kind of ritual.
You're on here telling me right now that you think people were taking snake bites and then sucking boys off to balance out the venom in their body so they could get high, and you're doing like symbolically as close to that as possible.
It's pretty pathetic. Your attempt to like kind of.
I mean, that's just layman's of what you just said. You said fluids from the boys' bodies, and they're balancing for the antidote.
I'm just
come on. You got to get real, man.
What's the interpretation of that then? What did I miss?
Well, you tried to paint Quap as trying to do something symbolically as close as possible to that, which obviously isn't the case. If someone that's like saying that all ayahuasca retreats are somehow pedophilic. That doesn't make any sense at all. But we can't take off the table that human bodies have been used as alchemical vessels to create antibodies and antidotes for drugs that would be lethal if it weren't for something that can pull you back from the brink of it being lethal. And if you've ever seen that movie, the princess, what's it called? That the one with Zorro. I don't think that word means what you think it means. The Princess Bride, right? The guy at the end, tricks the other guy into drinking the poison because the poison was in both cups, but he had built up an immunity to that poison by taking it in small dosages his entire life. And I'm sure a guy like that who's taken small doses of poison his entire life and has built up a tolerance to it, perhaps his blood could be used as an anti-venom or antidote to that kind of poison if someone else could drink it or inject it or however it would be delivered to help them survive it if they did get bit by that sort of snake or accidentally drink that sort of poison. I'm pretty sure the same thing is done with horses, that we even still currently make like anti-venoms by doing the same practice with horses and using something we derive from their blood.
So you just articulated that fucking sucking off a boy is anti-venom for getting hot. Cool. Thanks for confirming.
Unmute him. I'm just gonna leave. I don't really want to.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad like Fundy, at least there was someone smart here to respond. But I mean, this is why I have Fresh muted, because he just like is just a hater. He's most likely Christian, I think, and he's just, I guess this is his only way to feel better about this is just to claim that somehow the things I'm saying are in the Bible are actually just my reflections of like me. But obviously I never done DMT like your Jesus did.
It's just really vulgar to keep on saying sucking off when, if
that's what he's saying.
Or their bodily fluids.
That's his interpretation of it. That's his story. If you let him tell it, though.
Well, it's not my story, dude. If you want to go look at what your Bible says, look at the Greek version.
You're the only person with that interpretation. It's your story. You're the only person in history that said this.
It would be the urine, if anything.
No, it's not the urine. No, that's also just completely wrong.
Well, then that's just biologically nonsensical.